Okay, well, if you tuned in and you saw the WETFLY Antigua, today the Fluger reel came in. Here's the box. Comes in this neoprene pouch, which is pretty nice. And I also bought an additional spool, which is the spool only, no reel, but that way you can rig up a different weight line, and then you can switch this reel onto another rod, and that'll be pre-rigged and you won't have to fiddle around or buy a secondary reel. First blush, reel looks pretty good. I did go ahead and rig it up with line just to give you guys a cost of all in. I went with the Go Tour backing line, which was ordered on Amazon. It was about $12. I have some of that left. Then I went ahead and put on Scientific Angler, 5-weight GPX weighted line, $25 on clearance. Then I bought a pack of these SF tapered leaders, maybe $8, but I did spend a little bit more, like 15 on Amazon to get the little wallet. Figured I need a place to keep it. And then I spent about $10 to get 30, what is this, 30 yards? 30 yards of Rio 5X tippet. Now, I don't think you technically need the tippet if you use a tapered leader, but every time you change flies or if you lose something, you're going to be hacking off a little bit of that leader. So by adding tippet material, I've got more cuts I can make before I start digging into that leader, and I could always add more tippet material. And I don't know if you actually save any money doing that or not, but you save having to change the leader. I would also mention that the leader goes to the fly line, loop-to-loop connection, pretty easy. Then you do a surgeon knot to get the taper to the tippet. So this reel was $129 on clearance. They say it retails for $300 and change. I think it retails for closer to $260 maybe for this Fluger Supreme. The main difference, I was looking at a Lamson, I was looking at a WETFLY. The WETFLY is partially cast and partially machined. This reel is machined, which means it was cut from a single piece of aircraft grade aluminum bar stock, as opposed to cast, where they get the aluminum to melting temperature, pour it in the cast, maybe apply some pressure, and then take it out and then clean it up. The tolerances are supposed to be significantly better if it is machined instead of cast, and the strength is supposed to be greater as well if you drop it or bonk it or drop it on a boulder or hit it on your bumper or whatever you do to it. You might have a little bit higher chance of success. So it feels nice, super light, smooth functioning, nice click sound to it. It is the, and then I can feel the drag there going backwards. It is, they call it the Rulon drag, which is, it's a disc drag system. Basically, it kind of works like a brake on your car. These discs rub together, it creates the friction, and the Rulon plate is the friction plate. It's a fancy word for plastic. I think it's a Teflon style or type of product. The most preferred, or when you get to real high-end reels, typically that's cork. It can be any type of plastic, or it could be a click and crawl system, which it works kind of like a, if you think about how a sailboat winch works. So that means, let's get our handy dandy pencil. That WETFLY 5-weight reel or rod, pardon me, fiberglass 5-weight Antigua rod was $100. You're at $129 for this guy. Gets you to $230. $25 for the Scientific Angler fly line. Gets you to $255. $7 for the leaders. $262. $8 for tippet material gets you to $270. And then say you get an assortment of flies to get started. On clearance, again, this was all purchased on clearance. These flies were about $10 a dozen or $10 a 10-pack, about $1 each. So that gets you up to $300. So $300 and I'm ready to go fishing. I probably could have gotten off significantly cheaper if I had bought kind of a cheapo rod and reel combination, but I'd have had one of those before, and it was serviceable, but there was no real feel in the rod. It was just a different class of equipment. You know, it was for uber beginner, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, all the recommendations I've read basically encourage you to do some shopping, but buy. Choose your budget and then buy the best you can afford, right? I probably could have spent more money, but I didn't want to spend $1,000 on a Sage fly rod. I wanted to see if I could get into the game and fish and do well with equipment that I would use regularly, that I wouldn't have a cardiac arrest if I broke something or if I dropped something into Davy Jones' locker. You could get the Orvis Encounter for, let's say, 180 bucks. I don't know if you need to still buy your little fly box and your little flies. But for 300 bucks, I think I did okay. I'm going to go fishing and I'll tell you how I do.